And we are live, episode number 26. We have somebody very special here today that I'm excited about. I think it's going to bring all of us a lot of valuable information, tactical stuff that we can actually use because things are changing in the real estate market. So before we get to him, just a quick update. So we're going to be moving studios. So it might be a few weeks before we have another episode. So if you're watching this and you don't see another one for a little while, could be because of that. So, but if you are watching and you want to stay informed, go ahead and go to YouTube, the Mainpod, follow us there, Instagram, the Mainpod. And without further ado, with us today is none other than Tim Manfro.
What's up, everyone? Oh, there we got the little the crowd track.
Yeah.
All right.
So, so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad you were able to make it. I know we had a little spoof thing yesterday that I didn't make it. So
Happens.
Yeah, I was running late. So we were able to get it in today. So for the guests, we're going to talk a little bit about Tim and his journey in real estate, but then transition into something that he's been having a lot of success with, which is Instagram and social media and AI stuff. A lot of stuff about AI that can really help agents and lenders out there. So hopefully you guys find some value in that. So maybe just a quick snapshot of, who you are, how long you've been in the business, and kind of what your journeys look like to this point.
For sure. Yeah. So my name's Tim Manfro, aka Mortgage Manfro. I've been doing loans since 2007, believe it or not. So got into the business about 2 months before it crashed.
Jeez.
So it was kind of like actually a blessing in disguise, really. Came into the office and everyone was freaking out, and I had no business, so I didn't really care. I was just learning the business as we went and kind of stuck with it, and here we are today.
Yeah. So when that happened, you didn't freak out? Like you were like, did I make a mistake? Like, what should I do?
I was originally I got into it because everyone's like, oh, people are making tons of money. It's really easy. And, because all those crazy loans that were happening. But, I committed to basically trying to learn the business. And I was just sitting in the back of an office reading and listening to cassette tapes, believe it or not, at the time of, loan terms and different stuff. And it wasn't a freak out moment for me because I had another source of income. I was doing construction part-time, loans part-time. And, I didn't have any bills or anything like that. So
how old were you?
I was 27.
27.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't a big monthly nut I had to crack or anything like that. So stuck with it and eventually kind of pushed my way through the challenges. I remember initially saying to my original manager, how does anyone make a living doing this? Just seems impossible. You know what I mean? He's like, stick with it. You'll come over the crest and eventually, it'll start working.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. I mean, I remember my first year, I only made $17,000, which at the time I was like, cool. Like it was just extra money on top of what I was already making. Second year I made $14,000. So I went down.
Yeah.
And then third year I made like 78,000. And then I started like doubling up after that. So then I started kind of getting some momentum, and it's been great.
Nice. And so now where are you at now, like company and things like that?
Yeah, so I'm a correspondent mortgage broker. I work with a company called Spec Home Loans. I've been working with that company for about 2 years. They're just a really small version of like a big company, like a New American Funding where I used to work. But we have multiple different options as banks and stuff like that. And it's been a really great switch for me personally.
Is it like a broker or is it direct lender?
Well, we're direct. So correspondent broker, basically the way it works is we're approved to use our own credit lines to fund loans with certain banks. So we can basically control the process start to finish, from the disclosures to the appraisal process, the funding of the mortgage. We don't control the actual underwriting. So the bank that we're going to basically send the loan to eventually, and they're going to service it at the end, is going to be the one that underwrites, but we handle everything else. So it's a good kind of like a hybrid of a broker situation, because when you broker, you don't really control a lot of that disclosures, the appraisal, all that stuff. We don't get control over, but the correspondent broker we do. So
that makes sense. So you've been in it about 15 years, 16 years. What do you think? That's a decent amount of time in the industry. I know right now we're in a place where we're having a lot of people leave the industry, probably on the lending side and, with the real estate side of things. What do you think has been your key to longevity in this space?
I mean, I remember initially when I got to my real first mentor, who's Richard Rodriguez. Shout out to Richard Rodriguez. He basically told me that if you know the guidelines of mortgages, like you'll never go hungry. So he's like, if you're skilled at your job and you know your job better than everyone else, like you'll find a way to succeed. And that was my original push, was to really like learn loans and learn the underwriting of loans better than anyone else. So when I was out there and I was getting deals, I could structure them and get them closed that other people maybe couldn't figure out. So I feel like you have to have that base of like the knowledge, but then after that, it's just hard work, dude.
Yeah.
And being smart, you know,
Yeah.
and figuring out how to shift and learn new things and connect with people. And I mean, I feel like that's why I've had success. Even when things got hard. I mean, last year, it's nothing to brag about, but I did 67 transactions, which in a year where most people were doing almost none,
Mm-hmm.
strictly because I decided I'm not going to not do loans. Like I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to talk to 300 people to get one loan where I used to only have to talk to 50. Like, I don't care. Like I'll do it just to make it happen. And that's, you know, I've never been afraid to work hard. So I think that's kind of what's helped me.
Yeah, I know last year, I think we talked in October, November. You made a pretty big shift around that time with kind of what you were doing. And that's kind of, you know, one of the things I'm excited to talk to you about, because, you know, I think it was a little bit before that I had seen a lot of stuff changing. And so I reached out and we had a conversation about it. So you've done since probably October, right? Is when you started, somewhere around there.
That was when the big change happened, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So since then, you've amassed, because I don't know how many you have before that, but you've amassed about 20,000 followers, like on Instagram, things like that. So let's talk about that. Like, tell me what inspired you to make that change and go that direction?
Yeah. I mean, I've always liked social media, and you know, my wife Colleen has always been like, you're really good at it, like why don't you do it more? And I was like, it doesn't work or whatever. Like, you know, I just had a million different excuses why I wasn't going to do it, right? And backing up, like what kind of led me to going down that road of doing social media was like, I always said I didn't have time to do it, right? Like, I don't find time to consistently post, so I'm not going to do it at all, right? So around that October time, I decided that I was going to say yes to everything for 90 days. Like I literally, as long as it wasn't illegal or unethical, like if you asked me to do something, I was going to do it. Whether that's like hike Mount Whitney or go to like work an open house, which I don't normally do, like and everything in between. So basically I decided I was going to say yes to everything for 90 days, which led me to all these different opportunities I may have not had before. And one of them was I went to like this networking mastermind meeting and met with this guy named Andy Nugent, who started that Afters ice cream in Chino. That's where it started. Now it's grown to be huge. This guy's like this mega entrepreneur and has like 30 businesses or something crazy. So this guy came and spoke at this event that I wouldn't have gone to unless I was saying yes to everything. And basically he inspired me to create a monthly meetup for action sports athletes that like to mountain bike or snowboard. Created this action sports athletes meetup, which forced me to go out and advertise it to people, which forced me to go to an office meeting over at Remax Top Producers with Christian Fuentes. And basically, I was telling everyone, because there's a lot of people that mountain bike there, hey, I'm going to do this meetup, whatever, which only one person showed up to you, by the way. But I was sitting in the crowd knowing that I had to say yes to everything. And he gets up there and says, I'm going to ask you guys to do something and almost no one's going to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to say yes to this, you know?
Oh, geez.
So he looks at me. I swear, I felt like he's looking at me. He probably wasn't. But he's like, we're doing a 5:15 a.m. accountability call, and I'm inviting you to come do it. And I was just like, I'm in. Like, I just literally, because I knew I had to say yes. And I've never been a real big early riser, or I would just kind of wake up whenever I had to. Like, sometimes it'd be early, depending on what was going on. So leading me to that accountability call at 5:15 literally changed my life. And the reason it changed my life is because it created this, and it's only 15 minutes long. It's not some kind of rah-rah, like crazy thing. The idea is that you get up and you start your day a certain way, okay? Which basically getting up early and having that uninterrupted time led me to have the time and the structure to basically start my social media journey.
Okay.
So that was a super long explanation of like how I got there. But basically without that, saying yes to everything, meeting Andy Nugent, going to Christian Fuentes' meeting to advertise the event, and then basically starting to get up early, that's literally changed my life. Because now I have a repeatable process in the morning that frees up so much time, that gives me the availability to commit to 1 hour a day of social media, which is what I've been doing.
So you're doing, well, hold on, before we get to this question. So did you read a book that made you think about saying yes to everything, or what spawned that decision or that idea?
I have no freaking idea. Like, I literally just woke up one day and I was so hungry for some kind of change, but I didn't know what or how, like, it was going to come. I've like been transitioning a lot. Like, I stopped drinking and doing any kind of drugs like almost 2 years ago, coming in August.
Yeah.
So like I had gone through a transition from like living that type of lifestyle. And then I was kind of like in this lull where I was good. Like, I wasn't like really like drinking, thinking about drinking wasn't like a big deal for me. I was like eating healthier, like working out. And I was like, okay, like business needs to shift as well. So I'm like, well, how do you find new opportunities? You just say yes to stuff.
Yeah. I've been on I guess thinking about alcohol, and just the way that we eat and the things that we eat, and really having like almost an awakening of how it actually affects your brain mentally, and how your clarity and your drive and everything else that goes into to growth and optimizing. I have this thing that I wrote on my board this week was optimal human, right?
Yeah.
And so how to optimize you as a human, and drinking is like horrible for it. And I know, because I haven't been drinking as much, but every once in a while, I'll do it. And not even that many, 3-4 beers, something like that. And I wake up the next day and like all of that drive, anything that I've built is just kind of like reset. And then you have to like come out of that fog, or that intentional focus. When I did 75 hard 2 years ago, I just remember during that, like how crystal clear you felt, how much more energy and focus. It's totally different. I can just imagine. So you're a year into not drinking or doing anything, and this feeling like, I got to do something, like something, you're just more clear and more focused.
You're hungry for what's next, right? Like, and I mean, I knew when things got hard that I had to be ready for every single opportunity to succeed. Like, you can't have like you have an off conversation, or you don't pick up the phone when you should have, or you sleep in, or you miss a meeting or something. Like, it's not going to work. Like, you have to be ready to pounce and make it happen 24/7. And that's been a big part of that, has been being clear and ready to wake up early and feel good all the time.
Yeah.
Really.
So with the social media thing, so you started doing that, you started getting up early, having the 15-minute check-in mastermind call. How are because that's what a lot of people think. One is, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to do all these things. But two, they try to find time, right? You're going to fit it in. How have you worked that into your schedule and making it so you can be consistent?
Well, I think really like the power of uninterrupted time is like unmatched. The normal human, when they're interrupted, it takes them 23 minutes to get back on task, right? So even the simplest of things, it'll take an hour. If you get interrupted twice or 3 times by a phone call, text message, or someone coming in to talk to you or whatever it is, like that thing that takes an hour could then take 2.5 hours, or you just don't do it, right? So that morning time when there's no one calling, texting, like, I mean, I'm sorry, now I wake up at like 4 to 4:30, and I have so many hours in the morning of just uninterrupted time. I'm able to basically run my morning a certain way, like, and just from one thing goes to the next. And I know once I finish my my reading or my self-improvement, which is part of like my daily routine, a half an hour, next to social media. And that's it. Like, and basically I'm just like a robot almost in the morning, and there's nothing interrupting me or keeping me away from this. So like I wake up at 4:30, 4 to 4:30. I write down all the things that I'm thankful for in a journal. Like, I do like 1 page, small page. And then I basically also write down all of my 13 goals for the year. I rewrite those and think about them. then I pray or meditate, but for me, it's more of a meditation type thing where I'm basically just repeating my 5 of my goals for 1 minute over and over again, like softly, so it doesn't wake anyone up. And then I move into health, exercising, self-development, and then social media. So it's like boom, 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 boom. The things just happen in a row. And when I get to that social media time, my brain just knows it's go time. Like I flip over and it's time to basically do my social media. And that's been not a secret or some kind of hack or anything, but having that repeatable process every day, it just gets done.
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of like what's the secret sauce that you've used, at least the idea of what you're doing on social media and then maybe the effects of what that's turned into.
I mean, I kind of like wrote down some stuff so I can make sure I like kind of hit some of the notes that I want to hit on this, but like social media is so powerful because how many people can you actually connect with in a day? Like, even if you're the best cold caller or best networker, like maybe you talk to like 50 people in one day, or you connect or interact with 50 people. I mean, social media, if it's done right, could connect with 1,000 people, even 100 people, 1,000,000 people. I mean, like, so, for me, I was like, okay, like, how do I connect with the most amount of people possible, right? So what that looked like for me was creating information that people would want to share. That's been the secret sauce for me. Like, basically, what can you create that people would want to share with their followers? That's how you grow out of your own. Because when I started, I only had 843 followers or so. My goal, one of my goals for this year is to hit 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
So that's been a big push on that. And it didn't start this exact way. Like, I look at my videos in the beginning and they were not good. Like, they didn't make sense. No one was sharing them. They weren't inspiring. They weren't educational. They weren't entertainment. They were nothing. Like, it literally just was me fumbling around trying to just put something out. And eventually, because of the consistent of just being like, I'm going to do this every day, eventually I started kind of falling in and seeing, okay, well, I posted like this and it worked, right? So what I started noticing was people's attention spans are very short.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously mine is as well. And if you can create some kind of video or reel that goes from 5 to 10 seconds and gives them some kind of information, there's a good chance if they like it, they'll share it if they feel it's valuable. So I started basically kind of like looking at, okay, I have all these amazing pictures and sceneries and videos of things that I've done in my life, like, cool hikes and views from the tops of mountains and whatever. So I literally just started taking
snowboarding through powder,
whatever. Yeah. I literally just started taking cool videos of stuff that I've done and then putting information over the top of it.
Yeah.
In a sense where it would state something at the top, basically whatever it is. And then it would basically do boom, 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 point to the caption. And I would try to find a trending song that I could basically line those things up with and basically create this video that is pleasing to the eye because it maybe makes them stop because they see a cool snowboard move or a really bitchin' sunset or something. And then if they're interested in that type of information, they get that little hit. Sometimes they watch it more than once because it's so short. And then, if you prompt them the right way, you'll see them share it. So,
yeah. So you were just telling me before we went on, like the highest shared post that you had.
Yeah. So I had a post that I put up, and basically it was a video that my friend Justin Brown had sent me because we're just like everyone else. We're constantly sending stuff that we think is interesting to each other or funny or whatever it is. So he sent me a message like, hey, look at this. And it basically was this guy in this little Barbie cart that was in full pads and helmet getting towed by in this truck with Freebird playing on the radio and just getting ripped around these corners and eventually dumps out and gets destroyed. So I'm like, well, how can I connect this to what I do, right? So instead of putting my cool mountain scenes or something with information about real estate, I'm like, okay, let's take a video that's kind of going viral, clip that, and then put real estate or tie it into the real estate industry. So I believe what the post said was, it said me ... or actually it said you ... It said, what would you do to get my offer accepted? And then it said me ... And it showed a video of that guy just getting freaking dragged around town I eventually dumped out, and then at the bottom it flashed, "Who you work with matters." And in the caption, I basically went on and I used ChatGPT, which we'll probably talk about in a bit, but to create the caption for that, optimized for sharing and all this different stuff. And I basically posted that video. Now, what I do that's a little bit different, and I send these to you all the time, is on Instagram, you can share up to 50 people a message that looks like it's just individually sent to them.
Mm-hmm.
So then at that point, I have a list of all the realtors or people that I want to send these videos to. I think I'm up to about 250 people. So I'll just basically pull my spreadsheet up and I basically type out a little thing that says, share this with someone who needs to be reminded of why it's valuable to work with a professional, whatever. I probably said something better than that. But I basically send them that video. So in their little phone, early in the morning when they first wake up, when most people's looking at their Instagram, because I'm doing this probably at about 6 o'clock in the morning, they pop it open. There's a message from me. They see the video. They look at it. They think it's cool. Makes sense. They're going to hit share, put it on their story, right? So that original video got maybe about 80 or 90 shares was the initial shares, right? And then I think it got up to somewhere around 100,000 views, which at the time was like really good. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's going crazy. Like I might hit 1 million, and then it died. I think it died. It stopped being shared and getting views at about 160,000. And then 2 or 3 weeks went by. I went to sleep. I did nothing at all with this video other than just it's there. And I'm posting other videos after it. And I actually had one that was going really well. That was like a scene from Dumb and Dumber that was also surrounding the real estate industry that was up to like 400 something shares. So I'm really watching this post. Then I wake up one morning and I pop my phone open and there's 4,000 shares for this video.
Dang.
And this is like weeks later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the? And I like pop this thing open and I look and it's at 1 million views, like overnight.
Yeah.
And I don't know how or why or who shared it. Someone shared it that got this chain going. And basically what happened was this post went mega viral. I think right now, currently it sits at 404,000 shares, 37.4 million views,
Jeez.
and 1.5 million likes and 4,000 comments.
Wow.
I mean, one of the comments that I responded to someone has like 8,000 hearts, likes or whatever. And what that generated was, for about maybe 6 weeks after that, 4,000 to 5,000, 10,000 shares a day up until it got to that point. And then it grew my followers. At that point, I was at about 3,800 and I went all the way up to about 25,000 in that short amount of time that it grew from that post.
Wow.
Now, the thing is that there's 3 types of posts that you could do, right? That really work. So there's entertainment, education, and inspiration, right? Those are the main ones. And this is an entertainment one. Even though it has the twist of the real estate stuff, the reason people were sharing it was not because I was a brilliant real estate marketer and they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to use Tim Manfro as their loan officer because he posted this post. They thought it was rad that the guy got dumped out at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of those followers are not necessarily people that were looking for a loan officer, right? But what it did was it spread my net wider and got more people on my page and more eyes on me. And now the other stuff that I'm posting may have the opportunity to connect with more people that are more likely to basically use me. So I know like with Justin Brown has had really great success with his Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. And his posts that have gone viral have done like maybe 1 million or 2 million views, which is way less than the one that I did, but they're educational. So what that's done is generated leads, like real leads, right? Like people that want to buy a house and stuff because he's dropping knowledge on, whatever, dude, all the stuff he talks about, right? So my thought process kind of shifted after that, like, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to go delete all these people that aren't going to use me for loans, or, you know what I mean? So I went through and actually pulled out all the ones that have pictures and kind of like filtered them out just to have like more what I think is legit followers. And like my process kind of has changed now because all of a sudden now I'm an expert just because I was consistent since October and I basically had a couple posts go pretty good. People are looking to me for advice on social media and I'm happy to give it, but it's opened doors for me with real estate agents which have then sent me deals.
Which is a lender's,
Biggest.
that's your target audience for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that now my mindset has shifted to create information that would be beneficial for a realtor to share with their database. So because when the realtor shares it, if it's dropping knowledge about down payments or closing costs or new loan programs or whatever it may be, then that realtor looks good. That client hits them up. They're likely to send it to me if they're sharing my stuff all the time. And it's just worked out, and it's rekindled a lot of relationships. It's given me the ability to definitely increase my business this year over year, because of the success of the social media, but not necessarily how you think it might,
Yeah. So if you had an agent that was saying, they want to do kind of replicate kind of what you're doing, what would you say would be like the first 5 steps that they should think about and start implementing?
Like, figure out what your goal is with your page, right? So there's 2 main goals that you can go after when it comes to lead generation. Like, you could go after staying in front of your sphere, like, so basically posting just to be in front of those people that you already know, right? And maybe grow a little bit, people share it or whatever. Or you could have the goal of like someone like Justin Brown, like where he's trying to generate actual business from it and grow his page, right? So first you got to decide that, like, what do you want to do? Like, because the easier route, which neither of them easy, but the easier route is basically just having it as like a little cherry on top of like all the other stuff that you should be doing as a realtor, and just posting to stay in front of those people that you already know. And then, so there's going to be a strategy for that versus a strategy for trying to grow to like a larger audience.
Yeah.
Right? So decide that, step 1, right? Then step 2 would be basically, how often are you going to post and what are you going to post about?
Yeah.
Right? So I saw this presentation by I think he goes by Believer Mike. He's a social media expert, and he had a good point. Like, basically, people are really interested in only certain things. Like, if you're trying to post just to like stay in front of the people that you already know, you're going to want to post your kids a lot. You want to post the fun things you're doing. You may weave in some business stuff and like that, but you're going to be leaning more towards like lifestyle, right?
Right.
Because they're going to be more stoked. If you're just posting real estate over and over again, like, your people are just going to be like, whatever. Like, we don't care, that you already know. We know you're a realtor. Leave us alone. But then if you're trying to go the route of growing, then you're going to really have to get a strategy together and really say like, okay, Monday I'm posting this, Tuesday I'm posting this, Wednesday I'm posting this, Friday I'm posting this. This is how I'm going to attack my story. So you got to decide that. I think step 3 would be basically learning how to use ChatGPT well, like to either create ideas and or the captions for your actual post. Because the ideas for me are easy. Like, I can come up with ideas all day long. Executing them is a little bit difficult, especially in the style that I like to do with the short words and making everything make sense. I use ChatGPT and I kind of like tell it exactly what I'm looking to do. Hey, I'm gonna have a video of a guy on a mountain bike jumping over this cliff, right? The phrases that I want to pop up are going to be this. This is the goal of the post. What do you think? How could I make this better and make more sense? And then ChatGPT goes and tells you all this different stuff. And sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes I stick with what I originally thought.
Yeah.
So getting good at, and then also having it create your caption for you, because the caption's important. You want it to look professional and good. And a lot of times on these types of videos that I'm posting, it's short information, directing them to the caption to get more detailed information.
Yeah.
Right?
I know on Instagram, like, there's the AI thing now and I saw somebody post something about it where you can ask it to tell me, this is my post, this is what I do. What are the hashtags I should be using for this? Is that something, do you do too?
I don't know how important the hashtags are or not. I'm not sure. Like, I see, it's like funny because I jokingly said I'm an expert at social media, but I think I'm just an expert at being consistent, and like, that's what's gotten me like the success with this part. I don't know all the ins and outs, and I'm learning as I go what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed when I'm creating a post, the style that I make, if I tell ChatGPT to make it fun and use lots of hashtags and emojis, and I have no idea why I say making it fun makes it work, but I like that style. And that's what I do on every post is I'll say, make it fun and use lots of hashtags and emojis, and it usually will pump out 20 to 30 hashtags, and
Yeah.
that works. That's been working for me. So
Yeah. There's a lady that I follow. She's got a course called the Listings Lab, and basically she talks about being an influencer or an entrepreneur, especially when it comes to social media. And it's kind of like what you just said with the posting. Are you going to post a little bit of business and then more lifestyle? Are you going to post things that are going to get viral content, like that kind of stuff? But what she said was, in the way her course is designed, right? Like these big companies, they have a marketing, like who they are, like they're very strategic, like the iPhone, like they made it personal, right? It's about me. Nike, just do it. Like they've got these taglines, but there's a core fundamental value to what they are, what they stand for, all those kind of things. They produce, consumer proof of concept. Like for us, for real estate agents, it would be reviews, people saying things about the service that we provided, and then maybe you're telling a story. Anyways, long story short, she hits on all these points, and you create content specifically around your brand, who you are, and who your target audience is. So like if I'm somebody that likes, big properties, horses, so people that are looking to upsize into ranches, maybe that's my niche, right?
Yeah.
And so the things that I talk to are specifically geared to things that they are going to most likely want to do. And so you're doing myth busting, you're doing, just value add, like things that they need to know. You're doing your stories about your clients and reviews and things that happened. You're like putting all these things together to really build like a brand package of like who you are. So when somebody sees all of those things in total, they know who you are. And there's call to actions, on some of them they're not. You're telling personal stories, you're getting vulnerable, things that you've struggled with, things that you've learned. You're just being authentic. And then you take all of that and you create lead magnets to drive traffic
to those.
to a specific property. Hey, this is summer's around the corner, guys. If you're looking to upsize to a pool home, here's a list of the hottest new properties that just hit the market with pools, right? So you're getting people to interact with that. And then all of this content, 60, 90 pieces, gets retargeted to all of those people or your database email list or whatever. Like you're using that data to stay in front of them. So you're paying to be in front of them. And then you can kind of filter in your lifestyle in between that. I think that, so what are your thoughts on something like that? Like what I just said?
I think that is a professional way to go about it, really. Like the whole retargeting thing, I haven't really figured all that out, I wouldn't say figured out. I haven't took any time to learn about how that all works, but it makes sense to me because once you know what someone's into, they're going to be attracted to work with someone that's into the same similar things, or once you know what they're into, you know what to throw at them to get them to do something, right? Like click the button or call you to help them find a house that has a pool or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's powerful. And I think that is going to be part of my journey at some point to learn how to basically do all that.
Yeah.
And
I really like your content just because like one of the things that drew me to you is like you do the same things I do. So when you're putting your post out and it's you smashing through the backwoods on a snowboard full of powder or on your mountain bike and doing those hikes, I almost used because I texted you for your thumbnail, and I almost used the one at the top of one of the mountains. You were holding the sign up. I was like trying to get the background out of it because I was going to put that as the thumbnail for the podcast. But
sweet.
Yeah, but it drew me to you for sure.
Yeah, and before I started consistently posting on social media, I decided that actually, let me back up. So when I first decided I was going to hike Mount Whitney, I basically took my first long hike. I did Cucamonga Peak, which is pretty brutal when you're not in shape, right? This is right at the beginning of my fitness journey when I was kind of starting to get in shape. The first mile, I just was like, I can't do this. Like there's no chance I'm going to make it to the top of this mountain, let alone to the top of Mount Whitney, right?
Yeah.
Highest mountain in the lower 48. But I wasn't going to give up because I don't give up, but I was doubting myself in a big way. So we made it halfway. We made it to the saddle. Okay, next stop this, next stop that. We eventually made it to this area where these people had turned around. We're talking to them. They're like, there's snow. We can't make it. And I'm like, we're going to make it. Get up to the top of this mountain, right? The feeling I got from that, of beating that and getting to the top of that mountain and sitting on that paper chip, potato chip rock or whatever it looks out over was unreal. Like, and then I'm like, I need to put this on social media. Like, I don't even know why I felt this. So I put this kind of like vulnerable post up that basically said like, hey, I'm hiking Mount Whitney. I'm going to take you along my training regiment over the next 3 months before I do it. This is first hike of 8 or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. And I kind of wrote a little thing saying how tough it was and whatever, posted a bunch of pictures. And that post like blew up for me at the time. I think it got like 179 likes or whatever it was. All the people commenting, you could do it. So then I started seeing that like, this is inspiring people, like, because I'm like saying that this is hard. And, I'm not like, oh, this is no problem running up the hill like a maniac. So then I took them on every single hike that I did all the way up to the Mount Whitney hike. And what was crazy was all the interaction, all the same people were commenting on these posts, people were sharing them, people were texting me, messaging me. The day that I hiked Mount Whitney, you don't have any service until you get back down. And when I got back to camp and got service, I had close to like 80 texts of people saying, dude, let us know you did it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were following along and knew the day I was doing it, because I was like 18 days more to Whitney or whatever, so I was like counting down on social media. But all these people that like past clients, like realtors I never even talked to, like random people like I didn't even know, like were texting me and messaging me, being like so pumped on. So that clicked a bell, like that checked a box. And I'm like, dude, like if you inspire people, like they get behind you.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty exciting moment for me, which made me think, okay, the social media stuff, there's something to it, you know, for sure. So
that's cool. I meant to ask you about that too, because I was one of the ones that was like following, like seeing all the stuff that you were doing and wanting to do it. And I never did it, but that was really neat that you did that. Was it hard?
Yeah,
Mount Whitney.
Yeah, but the thing was the training was hard.
Okay.
The trip up Mount Whitney was hard, but I was so ready for it, and I was so motivated, and my mind was already at the top. Like I'd already
nothing
made
was going to stop you.
Like you would have to. I mean, I would have had to like break a leg, and I think I still would have like limped up there, tried to at least. But standing on top of that mountain felt, I can't even explain it. Like it was just such a victory, because I remembered those first mile when I'm hiking with Ryan Schultz, who we call the Terminator, because the guy just like he'll hike to the top of Mount Whitney and have like one drop of sweat on his chest, and and then I'm just like completely drenching like 3 shirts, just on this first mile. And then I'm sitting on the top of Mount Whitney, just like, wow, I made it. And it was cool.
That's rad.
It was cool.
So would you say that first Cucamonga Peak was the hardest hike?
No, because I didn't even know what I was to expect necessarily. Like,
okay.
I'd never walked that far before, honestly. Like, I think Cucamonga Peak, don't quote me on this, I think it's like 11 or 13, 14 miles, something like that. Pretty good amount of uphill. But after you do that one, and then the next one, that you're like, I'm on a hike for 16 miles. Like, I know how freaking hard this is going to be. Like, those ones were hard, but I was so motivated, man. I just like burst right. It didn't even slow me down. But I would say probably the hardest one that I did was San Gorgonio. And I had basically went out to eat down at the beach and ate some food that didn't agree with me. And we had to leave, like, I think we were leaving at 3 a.m. to hike it, maybe 2:30. And I got home at like 8, and I went to go to sleep, and my stomach was messed up, and I barely slept. But everyone was depending on me and us, and we were all dependent on each other to be part of that group. So I freaking got up and hiked it, and I was freaking feeling great, man. I think the first 7 miles I was flying. I was in front of the pack, feeling great, and I hit a wall. I've heard that term, but I've never really fully understood it until then. I literally had to sit down. I could not take another step. Wow. I was like, and then I kept thinking we were close, but we were nowhere near close, dude. Like, we were so far away from getting up there, but I made it. I was the last one to the top. I literally didn't even enjoy the peak. I like crumbled down and like ate a weird protein bar, and then they're like, all right, we got to go. And I'm like, we got up. And so I want to do that one again. That was definitely the hardest for me, probably is, and it also is the longest and the one I did before Whitney. That was the last one we did.
Okay.
So it was kind of like
How long is it? Because I live out there now and I stare at that mountain every day. Where do you start for one, and then how long was it, or how long did it take? How about that?
So it took, let's see, we started at I think 3 a.m. and we got back to the car I think at like 5 or 6.
You were on the trail at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh no, we left to go. So we probably hit the trail at like 4 or so.
At 4.
Yeah. It
Okay.
was pitch black.
So pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an all day thing.
All
and,
day.
Yeah. All day long. And I mean, I was moving slow for sure at the end, just kind of making it through. I mean, my legs were wobbly. I mean, I felt like the people look at the end of marathons, kind of like just stumbling in, but made it. And yeah, I mean, that was definitely the hardest one for sure.
At the top of the San Gorgonio, what's the view? Are you looking down at Palm Springs Banning?
The view of San Gorgonio is not like I honestly didn't even take it in. I was so tired. But it's not like as inspiring as some of the other ones. Like San Jacinto is awesome. Like you get up above the tram and you're climbing up these big rocks and you could just see forever, like in both directions. Baden Powell's really cool. That's a shorter one if anyone's looking to do some hikes. But San Gorgonio, I don't think it's that inspiring of a view. Like it's great, but not as good as some of the other ones.
Okay.
And I really wasn't in a position to even like drink it in. I was so just roasted.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's talk about AI, because I know you've come to our office and talked a few times about AI and what the things are with that. And I really think that as agents, as people in business in general, I think that it's AI is going to change a lot in this world very shortly. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out of jobs, and they're going to need to find other things to do. But the people that can adapt and change with it, it's the same thing like with the commissions thing that's going on. Like, there's certain people that are just operating in fear, and if you look to operate in a space where you're ready to adapt and excel and use whatever is coming for your benefit, then you're in a different position. So you've talked a lot and helped a lot of people with this AI stuff. So tell me kind of what your thoughts and what you're doing with it.
It's a tool. I mean, it's just plain and simple. It's another tool in our tool belt. I think that a lot of people are resistant to it because they don't understand it or they're scared. And I think we just need to get over that shit. Like, this is not going anywhere, and this is moving at such a high speed pace that even the people that are committing time to learning it, like, things are changing so quickly. So like, don't be overwhelmed. Like, learn how to use what's going to work for you and make you better. I went to training last night. Becky Lebret, she did a training for the YPN networks and Young Professionals Network at Citrus Valley. And she said, start with whatever systems you already use and find the AI in that and use it. And figure out and get a taste for it and see how it changes things. She was recommending, like, a lot of us use Canva, right? And Canva has done a really good job at weaving AI into the system and giving you the ability to basically use it as a tool to make your output better, right? But AI is something that we need to basically figure out how to use, or people that use it are going to replace us, basically. So for me, like, the main thing that I use in AI is ChatGPT, and it's so versatile. And I could list a million things that I use it for, but some of the main stuff I use it for is basically coming up with ideas for social media, creating the captions for social media, creating scripts for certain things that I'm going to do, or fine tuning, bios or different information that you're putting out to people. I heard a good suggestion yesterday for if you are going to send someone an email that has to be directed to a person that's maybe a different personality type than you, you could put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, convert this email to be someone who would be softly spoken, or if you know the disc profile, you can say like a driver or whatever it may be. It'll convert it into a way that's going to communicate best with that person. You have access to a system that basically is smarter than the smartest human by 100 million times. That's not a real number, but I mean, it's something like that. So, yeah. And, I mean, get to know it, use it, figure it out.
Yeah, I think for me, like it probably comes with usage, right? To understand, but like the imagination that you even have to have of the questions to ask of it, or the information that you're supposed to be giving it to do what it is that you want it to do, I think is the most challenging part for me, right? Because I've used it for a few different things. For I started working on like a SEO thing for my website,
Mm-hmm.
and so asking it to say like, hey, give me the top 10, or give me a reasons to live in Beaumont. What are the best things? What are the cons? And then, list them out. And then I had to change it and say, hey, make it a little bit, make it read at like an 8th grade level, because
Mm-hmm.
like it's putting like crazy words together. And like, I'm like, nobody's going to talk like this, or nobody even reads like that, for the most part, for pleasure, for leisure. Um, but it took me some time to figure it out. And then I just started plugging each city into it with that same recipe. And it just started printing them out and putting them on there. And then I said, use things that can use places like restaurants and parks and things like that I can put links to help boost the SEO on that page and things like that too. So, but it took me a while to figure out like what do I need to ask it.
But once you figured it out, think about how many of those, now you have the code, you've cracked the code for creating those city breakdowns, and you could literally just sit there all day and do hundreds of cities.
Yes.
Where if before you wanted to do a city, it would take you a whole week to like, or a day or whatever, or
Yeah.
multiple hours, like even if you're really good. So the whole thing is that if you don't take the time to learn how to use it, it's going to seem impossible. But once you crack the code on what you're using it for, then it increases your productivity like by 1,000,000%,
Yeah. Yeah. It literally, I hired my daughter to write one for Upland when we were living in Upland. Like, what do we love about living here? What are the places that's the main features of Upland and the places to see that if you're there. Yeah. And it took her like 2 weeks to really come up with something that she felt was good. And then that thing did it in 3.5 seconds.
I mean, one thing that I use it for, so I do a lot of presentations, and I'm doing one called communicating buyers agents value, exactly what to say. So basically, it's all about the NAR settlements changing the way that things are happening, and I'm not getting involved in that part of it. But as a buyer's agent, you're going to have to get better at communicating your value.
Yeah.
So what I did for that was I went and I found probably about 50 videos on YouTube that were all talking about it, all the details about the NAR lawsuit, all the videos that people were putting out about how to communicate your value as a buyer's agent. And I literally took my cursor and I like copied and pasted the transcript, no matter how long it was, right? I basically went down, boom, pulled it down. These are like between 10 to 30-minute videos, copied and pasted the transcript. I created a chat bot on ChatGPT, which is basically just like one of the select, people hear chat bot, you think something crazy. It's literally just one of the chats you've created. You can basically feed it information. So I fed this chat all the transcripts from those 50 videos. And then now this chat knows specifically that information because it has access to the internet, but it's not going to be able to see and figure out and decipher videos. But once you input the actual transcript, now it knows exactly what was said back and forth, who said it. It understands who those people are in a lot of situations if they're famous. And then I was able, now I have this super powered chatbot that knows everything that there is to know about communicating, that people are putting out currently about communicating value as a buyer's agent, with weaving some of the stuff in about the NAR settlement. Now I'm able to ask it questions and have it help me create a presentation that's really effective.
Jeez.
So I mean, like, you'll just think of things like that, and you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done stuff like that. Other things like, I mean, gosh, I've used it for so many things, but like just for an example, I mean, everyone said, you write the bio, right? Like you have your own bio. So I have a short, medium, and long bio. Well, I spoke at WeRep the other day, and they were saying like, oh, they don't normally have lenders come speak, but it was really more of a motivational talk. It was all about momentum. So when they asked for a bio, I took my lender bio and I basically said, change this bio to be more like a motivational speaker's bio. So I basically took that medium bio and changed it, and it's still wove in mortgage man for all that other stuff. But now it's like saying these things like, that people are going to read and be like, oh my gosh. So like, how long would it take me to rewrite that bio, like to make it right? Like it would take an hour, multiple hours for me. I'm not great.
You'd be sitting there with writer's block.
Dude,
like, what do I say?
And it wouldn't even make any sense, probably. And it'd probably have grammatical errors that Nick Abadessa would pick out and, send me a text message with a screenshot. But having that ability to just on the fly, like they asked me for it, and then 2 minutes later, I'm sending them like killer bio that's more like a motivational speaker's bio than like a lender's bio. So,
Yeah.
I mean, these little things that you do day by day can be made so much quicker, faster, and so much better than you could ever do yourself. You just have to think about how to use it. So, I mean, I always use the example, like, do you remember when Google came out?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, we've been in the lifetime when there was no Google. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it was Internet Explorer, I think, was the first one I used, but
Yeah. I mean,
is
there was no Google because
there was no
how old are
Google.
you?
I'm 43.
Yeah, I was 40. I'm 45, and I mean, I know in high school
There was no Google.
there was no internet. Like it was starting right then.
Yeah.
Like that's when it was starting when we were, so 10 or 11. There was no Google.
So I remember being where I felt like I was good at Googling. Like you could find what you needed like easier than and more effective than other people because I knew what to put in to find what I wanted, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing applies for ChatGPT. Like you just need to get good at ChatGPT. You figure out what it's looking for, and what you want it to do, and what its capabilities are, and then it's endless. It's like Google on steroids, really, because of all the stuff we do as professionals, and it's not even just necessarily a lender or realtor. Like this could be used in any business. Can be literally save so much freaking time. And that time you could use to hang out with your family, or you could use to go get more business or whatever it is you want to use it for. But it's powerful. So ChatGPT for me is probably the number one thing I use. There's tons of other options, right? Like, different apps and different things. But I would say if you were new to AI, like figure that out first.
Mm-hmm. What else are you using it for? I know for like this podcast, we stream it live. I think I was telling you. And then I just take the YouTube link from the live and I put it into an AI software that goes through and pulls out what it thinks might be interesting. And then that's what we use to repost on Instagram. We don't do any editing. It does all of that stuff for me. But the reason we do it live is so I don't have to try and go in and spend time, going through that editing. So it's saved a ton of money and a ton of time, just in that one aspect.
Yeah, I mean, so I use an app called Captions, and there's also I think called Final Cut or I don't know what the other one, but there's multiple different apps like Captions, and basically what I use that for is I'll record a video of me talking, and then basically I can upload it, and it's going to put the captions on it, right? Which there's a million different apps that do that. One of the cool things it does is it actually will adjust your eyes to make sure you're looking directly at the camera. Mm-hmm. It also will like eliminate like if you're blinking heavily or anything like that. It makes you look like you're staring deeply into the person that you're talking to. It's almost, but not scary. Like it looks good, like especially on a phone. So I'll use it for that. It also will clean up the sound. It also will remove any dead space. So like just an example, I had a video that I filmed for my Wednesday Win series, which is like spreading positivity in real estate, like through like stories that have happened recently. So I get like pumped up and I'm like, in there and whatever. But sometimes there's little gaps where I'm not, I'm like thinking of what to say next. You put in that app and you basically hit the button and it removes all those gaps and it makes it look good. So you basically can remove that. I took a video that was 1 minute, 7 seconds all the way down to about like 59 or 58 seconds.
Wow.
So remove like 7-8 seconds of just like dead time, basically. So automatically you just hit a button, it does it. Also, one thing that's strong, which I showed someone the other day, and this seemed logical to me, but they were like, oh my gosh, it's such a good idea. So because it's putting the captions on the video, basically it has a transcript of exactly what you said, right? So what I do is I go in and I take that transcript, and then when I want to write the caption for the YouTube, for the Instagram or whatever, I just copy and paste the transcript into ChatGPT and say, hey, write a caption for my Instagram page using this transcript. And then basically takes all you said and converts it into a bitchin' little caption for Instagram. You could tailor make it to YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And then it just eliminates time from having to type that out or figure it out. So
that's pretty cool. I was going to say for you have a lot of short content. Are you putting it on YouTube, on the YouTube Shorts or anything like that?
Yeah. So I basically have just been, so one of my other goals, the same goal is really 100,000 Instagram followers and 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So because if I would have had 1,000 YouTube subscribers and that video would have went 37 million there, it would have been like 500 grand, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. Like YouTube is really strong for generating actual leads, probably like
it's
people
a search engine. It's intention.
Yeah. like people that go to YouTube, like you're trying to figure out how to sew a button on or freaking this or that, right? Like fix a zipper. Like if you're going for loan knowledge, like you're looking to someone for information, which means like there's a good chance you're going to reach out to them if it's good.
Yeah.
So I've been posting all of my shorts and all my different like videos on YouTube, and I've had some success, nothing crazy. I think I'm up to 160 subscribers from basically like none. And then I've had multiple videos go over 10,000 views, all shorts though, right? So again, it's not that, a lot of it's not that informational stuff. I do something called Mortgage Dictionary on Fridays. It's one of my posts where I'll take a word and I just explain it. I mean, those will get like 7 views, like 20 views, 100 views, 300 views, where the ones that are funny or a guy crashing on a motorcycle is getting like 12,000 views. So I'm not attracting the people necessarily I want. I just reorganized my schedule starting next week, and I'm allocating an hour a week to do some long form YouTube stuff because I feel like I just need to sit down and talk about whatever I want to talk about mortgage related, and then maybe someone sees it and reaches out and figure out my path on that. So, but yeah, I haven't had crazy success. I've had some videos hit. I almost have 100,000 combined views, but it's spread out, and a lot of them are just on the entertainment side of things. Like,
yeah. On the AI thing, so ChatGPT would be like the place to start and just kind of working that into as much of their business as they can to take advantage of that part of it. Is there any other thing that you're kind of seeing on the horizon that can be used for AI?
I mean, you know, I'm hearing a lot of people talking about chat bots that actually can communicate with your clients, right? And I'm not an expert on these, but I am surrounded by people that are becoming experts. So I'm learning just from hanging out with them, and they're telling me this crazy and showing me stuff that's happening. And again, not to shout out Justin Brown again, but he's building a chatbots that basically are tied to a CRM, which is readily available to a lot of people. He's training it, right? So he's teaching it, like how I put the information in to teach my chat about all the NAR settlement stuff. And he's training it how to communicate with his clients the way he wants it to communicate, and it's learning as it goes. At this point, what's happening is when it's a client's year anniversary for their loan in a CRM, it triggers a chat bot to text them and say, hey, it's Diane, Justin Brown's new assistant. I'm just reaching out to schedule your one-on-one with Justin, right? And, oh, okay, hi, Dan, whatever. And this chatbot literally, with no help from anyone, can full on have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I've seen maybe 50 back and forth responses. I mean, even a crazy one where this lady was talking about how her like dog died, and the chatbot was like, sorry, and oh my gosh, but it just kept directing it back in like almost like a really good way. Like eventually scheduled the yearly thing, and it's actually, the chatbot has access to his calendar and can make suggestions and schedule appointments. So while Justin's out snowboarding or mountain biking or investing or whatever he's doing, he's got his chatbots running automatically that are scheduling his yearly things. So I think learning how to integrate that into business could be huge.
Yeah.
We follow up with leads manually. At this point, that works best for us. My wife, Colleen, is on my team, and she's really smart and amazing at building relationships with people. And so all the text messaging we do is her, right?
Mm-hmm.
There may be some point where we get away from that, you
Yeah.
know, once that stuff gets better, because if that frees her up, we could use her brain power to do an unlimited amount of things, like whatever, you know? So, so I'm not an expert in that, but that's one story. And there's a lot of other people that I'm hearing are doing similar stuff that's really powerful. So it doesn't necessarily have to be even that it's following up with his leads, which it is. He's using it for that as well. But that fringe stuff as well, that like we should be doing what we're not doing. Like an email isn't going to cut it these days. Like to send to someone saying schedule your yearly thing. Like we need a text message.
Yeah.
And to follow your calendar and take the time to text message everyone and then go back and forth with them. You know, Daniel Boyer said something funny the other day, which made me laugh. He said a text message is a conversation a phone call that never ends. Like it doesn't end, right? Like you're just going back and forth. So this chatbot could go for freaking hours and always respond in a timely manner. And you know, that's just powerful, I think.
Yeah.
So that stuff.
Yeah. I think, you know, with me going into this investment space too, like, and then seeing what they're doing, and then seeing what in real estate side of things. I mean, it's similar in a lot of ways, but like the as an agent, like our whole thing is either depending on what you do, like whether you go, most of your business is built off your sphere or it's cold outreach. Like the prospecting part of being a realtor or in sales in general is the hardest thing to be consistent at, right? Because life gets in the way. You get busy with business because you were doing your prospecting, and then the prospecting that got you busy falls to the side. And so the thing that I'm seeing is that you can use this chatbot to constantly be prospecting. You just load it with the data, and it will just keep reaching out and finding these people and then engaging them, and then setting those people on a phone call or a Zoom call or a in-person appointment for you. There's even a chatbot now that calls. I just got called by one, and I hung up, and my wife's like, that was a chatbot, right? I'm like, thinking about it, I'm like, was it?
Yeah.
It was really good. Really, really good. Had an Australian accent. Like, this dude was good. And
They throw the Australian. We're suckers for Australian accents in the United States for some reason.
yeah. So I'm just, my mind's spinning on the opportunities that you can use this stuff for to really ramp up your business and just create some consistency with while you're out snowboarding or doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, this guy that I'm in a mastermind with is one of the earliest adapters of that Air AI, which is basically a service of chat, live talking AI, basically. Mm-hmm. And they've got that to the point now where it's so good, and he's gone all in. He's doing somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 calls a day. A day. And this thing is just generating all these leads. Most of them hang up, tell them to F off, whatever.
They don't get their feeling hurt.
It doesn't matter. And they've now, and it's crazy because he was telling me initially they only had a man's voice. Mm-hmm. And now they've released a woman's voice, and it's gone through the roof. Like it's crazy how much that's converted just for him saying almost the same thing, but as a woman's tone. He's basically getting all these phone calls with people and closing deals.
Yeah.
And it's a big expenditure for him. I don't remember exactly how much he said he's spending, but it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You pay by the minute. And but basically he just has this thing going all the time.
Yeah.
And he has it set up for it all over the United States. So it's starting to call in whatever when New York, when this is happening in this time range. This thing just goes forever, and he's out doing whatever else he's doing, selling a bunch of real estate, going to Dodgers game, and it's setting up calls or it's live transferring to someone on his team or himself. I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible because the human in us get tired. You maybe drank, you weren't as sharp, so you missed a call, like somebody's talking to you and you just didn't deliver what was supposed to be said. Or somebody tells you to go F off and you get down on yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, like, why am I even doing this? Like, this thing doesn't care. It doesn't get tired. It's going to go for the amount of time you set it to go. And if somebody tells it to kick rocks, it's just going to make the next call like nothing ever happened. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cold calling for me would be, I wouldn't say impossible. I know I could make myself do anything eventually if I had to, but I wouldn't want to do it. Like, I wouldn't want to just call random people and basically ask them whatever questions it asks. I'll never forget the first cold call to a realtor when I first got in the business. My manager was like, well, you got to call realtors. I'm like, well, I only know like 2 realtors. He's like, well, you just got to pick a name out of the thing and call them. So I remember I called this realtor, and I won't even say their name. There's 0% chance they remember this, right? And I know them now. Just not well, like we don't work together or anything, but I interacted with them. I've closed some deals with them or whatever, and never mentioned this, but basically I called and I said, hey, this is Tim Manfro, and I think you should give me business. Like, that's what I said, because I didn't even know, like, you know what I mean?
What do
like,
you say? Yeah.
What do you say? And they're like, why? And I'm like, I didn't have anything to say. I literally started sweating, and I'm like, well, like whatever, like had nothing to say basically. And I hung that phone up, and I didn't call another realtor, like, for like a year. No. But, the chatbot knows you've told it what to say. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to it's just going to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to go about that, and it's going to learn as well, which is crazy. There's another website, Synthesia.io. And I don't even know if, that's the right way to say it. But maybe we'll put it up somewhere. And that's basically it has, I think, 50 different chat bot. Not what do you even call it? Like I can't think of the right name of it. It's a person. There's women, men. They speak Spanish, English, whatever. There's a bunch of different languages where you basically can type in what you want it to say, and it's going to create this like almost training video or avatar. They call it
avatar. Yeah,
yeah, avatar is what they call it. And what we've used that for is to create our little like to dos and not to dos in the transactions. Now, I forever had thought I want to record these videos where I'm going to explain how to download your bank statement and do this and blah, 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 like all these things. And it would be much more powerful if I did it myself, right? But I never did. Like year after year after year, I never recorded those videos, or I didn't like them. I didn't integrate them. So I basically just sat down, and one day I was able to create like 30 videos.
Wow.
That basically I just literally typed in, and it has AI built in as well that helps you. And I basically just jokingly introduced this person as Alan, my AI assistant. So jokingly to the clients, I'm saying like, this is a fake person, but he's giving you good information. So listen to him, and they'll have access to these links to these videos, and the information is written out as well. But it's basically just telling them do's and don'ts, and hey, here's how you do this, here's how you do that, here's what to look for. So I'm always available as well, but sometimes in the middle of the night when they're trying to figure something out, they have the ability to watch this video that's a complete AI.
What was the response to that when
good?
Did they like it?
Yeah, no one's like they're like, oh, I saw your AI assistant or whatever. You know, they'll kind of joke about it, but like we've noticed a big swing in people having issues with things they were having issues with over and over again. One of the biggest things lenders deal with, and they'll probably, you guys can feel my pain out there, is like the transaction history, like of, you know, getting a transaction history for a bank statement. No matter how you explain it in writing or read, you know, and explain it to them in person, like that just seems to be an issue over and over again. So we took a lot of thought and created like a little thing that has screenshots and different stuff, and we've sent that, and basically that's eliminated that problem pretty much.
Okay,
so,
nice.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
that saves us time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was cool. I think we covered a lot of stuff. Any final thoughts?
I think final thought would be get out there and make it happen. You know what I mean? Like let's push this to the limit. Let's make this happen. Let's get the positivity out there in the industry. I think that's a lot that's lacking right now is people out there being positive. We're lucky to have the ability to help people get homes, whether it's the commissions are changing, the loans are hard, the rates are high. Like, let's get out there and remind people that like we love what we do and we love helping people, and there's lots of opportunities for people to succeed out there in real estate. I love that.
I think there is a lot of negativity these days. So I know every time we've ever talked, like it's very positive, very encouraging. So I appreciate that. Guys, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys are here till the end. Like I said, we're going to have a couple weeks off here while we make the transition to the new place. But stay tuned on Instagram because a lot of this stuff will be there. And share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe everywhere. And until next time, have a great day.